Holiday festivities around the St. Louis area next on City Corner. I'm Sarah Thompson and welcome to City Corner. Well, there are still holiday events happening around town despite the pandemic. You don't have to worry about that. We have some safe options for you to choose from. Today, we're going to be talking with St. Louis Shakespeare Festival about their holiday event, which is outdoors, as well as the National Museum of Transportation. I'm now joined by Tom Ridgely, producing artistic director of St. Louis Shakespeare Festival. Thank you so much for being here. And we're going to talk about this great holiday event that you have, despite the pandemic, kind of came forward with a with a production. Tell me about a Walking Xmas Carol.
Well, it's an immersive walking experience that allows you to enjoy A Christmas Carol in a safe 2020 way. So what we did is we took the story and we broke it up into about 20 different moments or scenes from the original book, and we matched each one with a local artist. We worked with an amazing group called Painted Black STL to take some storefronts in the Central West End and convert them into some beautiful artistic interpretations inspired by old style holiday window displays. And so you get a chance to walk through the neighborhood, enjoy a hot beverage if you like, and experience the Christmas Carol in a really new way.
So, I mean, did this idea come about like pre-pandemic, or was this really after the pandemic happened and you started thinking, how are we going to do something for the holidays? And this is what was the result of it?
Exactly. We, before COVID, were hoping to do a production of a Q Brothers Christmas Carol and weren't able to do it, or thought we weren't going to be able to do it. And so when we wrapped up our summer stroll, which we call the late summer night stroll in Forest Park, we were looking ahead to the holidays and just realized, you know what, like there's going to be so much that isn't happening. So many shows, so many concerts, so many gatherings, so many ways of celebrating that we just won't be able to enjoy. And so we started trying to think of what we could do. And we sort of hit upon that window idea. And while we were working on it, actually, the Q Brothers approached us and said, hey guys, we actually have been using the shutdown to record the show. So we have this amazing high quality recording of their hip hop adaptation of A Christmas Carol. And so we were already thinking about adding an audio companion, and this just like fell perfectly into place. So yeah, the best way to do it is to go through with your phone and scan the QR code, and then you listen to the Q Brothers song that matches up with the window that you're looking at. So it really becomes, a real immersive experience.
Yeah, no, I want to hear more about, about the sort of producing partners that you worked with, but really quickly, just to like have people have a visual where you have some B-roll that they can look at. People head down to the West End, right there at Maryland and Euclid, where Drunken Fish is, and you start your walk, right? So talk about how that works with hearing the music, the audio component, and then what they're seeing as they move along this map of different storefronts.
Yeah, so like you said, you start at Drunken Fish, there's a big QR code there, you scan it, and there's a sort of guide that pops into your earbuds or on your phone or whatever you're listening on that sort of gives you the overview and tells you how it's going to work. And there's a track that, that plays that corresponds with that window, and then there's a little sort of instruction that kind of tells you where to go next. So it's pretty easy once you do the first two or three to kind of figure out how it goes. And then it just sort of flows from there, and it goes all the way around Maryland's down to Kings Highway and ends at the end of the Chase there, which is a beautiful series of windows to sort of cap it all off. And then when you're done, there's this little postcard station, so you can send a postcard to somebody that you love that you might not be able to see this holiday season because you're sheltering in place.
Oh, that's really nice. That's really nice. So people should bring their headsets, right? And their phones, right?
Yeah, definitely a device. Headphones are recommended, but not required. It's fun walking around just to hear like the beats popping out of everybody's phones and headphones and things like that. So yeah, if you want to hear it best, bring along some headphones, but you can also just kind of listen as you go.
All right, so I want to bring in sort of the artistic component right here, because we're talking about A Christmas Carol, right? So how is this sort of interpreted with hip hop, the story of Scrooge, and then window displays? Like, as you go from storefront to storefront, is it following the story, the narrative of the story? Is that how it works? Or tell me just a bit more about that process.
Yeah, you're getting all the moments that you know. You're getting Scrooge as a young boy, his visitation by the ghosts. the big party at Fezziwig's, Tiny Tim and his family. So you get the whole story, but you get it in sort of this really diverse way. And meaning you get a lot of different perspectives, because you've got the audio component, which is the Q brothers. You've got 21 of these different artists sort of interpreting it in their own style and their own aesthetic. And they're all in dialogue with Dickens. So it just sort of reminds you what, how much the story resonates, not just with us, but with people across times and cultures. And to see it come to life in this way in 2020 is really fascinating, because you'd think you'd seen it all when it comes to Christmas Carol, from all the different movie versions and plays and things like that. But artists are endlessly creative, and so this is a fun way to see it.
And I know it's like when the product is done, like it's open, people can go see this now through the 23rd of December, but there's so much work that goes into it before. And it seems so simple when you talk about it, like, hey, head on out, but it's really months and months of work. And the artists who worked in this, let's talk about the partnership with Painted Black STL, some of the artists. And then was there any directive, or was it like, here's your scene, interpret your scene in this storefront window? Like, how did the visual side of it, at least, how did that part come together?
Yeah, well, we worked with Painted Black doing the arches in Forest Park over the summer, and those ended up being kind of the coolest thing about that whole project. They were just so beautiful. And so we knew when we had this idea about that incorporated some sort of visual art installations, that we wanted to work with them. So we kind of built on a similar system that we came up with in the summer, which is that we took the story and we gave the artists sort of three things. We gave them the original Dickens passage that corresponded to their scene. We gave them the Q brothers passage from their adaptation that corresponded with their scene. And then we sort of teased out some themes that were in both versions, or in one or the other version, just to kind of give the artists a little extra juice to jump off from. And so, the artists took those two source materials and our themes and just responded to it in whatever way resonated with them. So you get a wide variety of stuff. You get some stuff that looks really clear, like, oh, that's Scrooge and Tiny Tim. And you get other stuff that's like much more abstract, and you get to sort of look at it and sort of, just sort of imagine and project, what the artist was going for, and what meaning you can take out of it. But there's great little descriptions along the way that talk about the artist and their style and how they approach their work and what they're doing in each particular piece. So it's kind of like going to a gallery too, where you get a little help along the way if you want it.
No, that's great. No, and I've seen with the photos, I haven't been yet, but when I've seen the photos, I mean, there's some that are just so striking, the colors and the painting, but then some aren't necessarily just paintings, it's something else. So it's really, really interesting that it's these 2D and 3D work. And then when it comes on the music side, I mean, so is this like narration in a hip hop form, or is it more like a spoken word? Describe a bit about the audio component. Is it a complete interpretation as well?
Oh yeah, it's basically a musical version of A Christmas Carol. It's just, instead of sounding like Rodgers and Hammerstein, it sounds like your local hip hop station. And it's amazing because the Q brothers, their whole style involves sort of, they call it ad-rapting. So sort of, instead of adapting, ad-rapting. So they take classic plays, Shakespeare, Dickens, and things like that, and they sort of interpret it in this hip hop idiom, but they're pulling in all different styles of pop and dance and R&B. So it really is just a really fun musical journey to go along. But no, you're listening to scenes between characters from the Dickens, sort of, you're listening to Scrooge and Cratchit rap about, what a hard time Scrooge is giving him.
And that can be relatable right now, right? It totally is, which is what's so great about it. I mean, how do you feel this all sort of comes together too with your mission, right? I mean, the organization, the company continues to do really interesting things that involves the public and in different ways, especially adjusting and adapting to the pandemic. So how do you feel this project really sticks and reflects what the mission is of the company?
Well, our mission is to make Shakespeare accessible to everyone. And we believe that exposure to Shakespeare, enjoyment of Shakespeare, a deeper relationship with his writing just makes people's lives better. It helps us understand one another. It connects us across barriers. And a lot of the great writers can do that. And Dickens is no exception. And so, particularly now when we're all so isolated, we're all just sort of holed up in our own homes, not seeing people the way we used to. And obviously, the fault lines in our society are becoming starker and starker. And so our job is to try and just take people gently by the hand and walk them over to a different place, just a slightly different perspective. And so that's part of what's exciting, I think, about working with Painted Black, is that for folks who live in the neighborhood or who are coming to the Central West End, they're getting exposed to artists that they probably don't know and aren't familiar with, but that hopefully are really enjoying because they see just instantly how beautiful and interesting all the work is. So combining their perspective with this sort of classic story is a good way to just sort of, get people one step closer to, to parts of their community that they might not be as familiar with.
That's great. And I know that on Fridays and Saturdays, I believe there's more of an interactive kind of component to all of this. So if you go during the week, you can do the walk, plug it in, do it all on your phone. But what happens then on the weekends?
Yeah, so Fridays and Saturdays from 5 to 8, there's some live performances happening inside the windows. So some dancers from Ballet 314 become these sort of living sculptures or sort of, animated art installations. And that's really cool. I was out there this weekend and some people were not expecting to see a living person in some of these windows. But that's really fun. They do a beautiful job. And then, there's live music out on the streets. There's also, there's hot cocoa and, spiked apple cider and cupcakes and lots of delicious things that local businesses are offering up. So a lot of the idea behind this was it's a hard time of year for all of us, but especially for the small businesses that really depend on this season, to survive. And so what we thought, with a lot of the storefronts empty, we could turn them into something beautiful and help drive, some safe foot traffic to some of these places that are trying to make it through the time.
I think it's a great idea. And obviously during the pandemic, there's the safety element. And so people being outdoors gives that comfort, and it brings that comfort. So I think this kind of accommodates all this. What is this whole process sort of, you think, taught you and your team about creativity during the pandemic? Does it feel stifled, or does it feel like you actually have a whole new way of looking at things that you just didn't, 12 months ago, or the last time you and I sat together for an interview? I mean, what has this kind of brought to you from a creative perspective about how to think about future projects?
It's such a great question because, people ask a lot like, well, is there going to be Zoom theater in the future? Are there going to be all these sort of walking things? And, I really don't know. I think probably maybe not as much as we might think, but what I really hope does survive and carry forward is this spirit of creativity and innovation, because I think a lot of times we imagine that, that big risks like that are exactly that. They're too risky. It's too strange. It's too different. But what this time has taught us is that kind of risk taking, when done wisely, can be, really worthwhile. And we've certainly been really rewarded by taking some chances. And so, I hope that when this is all over and we can gather safely again together, that, not just the festival, but that the arts community and, the country in general sort of holds on to that spirit of that boldness and that willingness to try new things and to not necessarily think in really small increments all the time.
No, I appreciate that comment and thank you. Everything you've been doing, I think, since the pandemic started, really fits in line when you think about it with the festival and outdoors, and just brought an energy, I think, on the sort of arts and performing arts and culture side that everyone really needed. So kudos to you and your team. And thank you so much for your time today, for how many Zoom calls, Zoom interviews, Zoom meetings you have. Thank you for this time. So it's really good to see you. I look forward to seeing you again in person. Before we break, I'm going to read the full page, what's on your screen, the full screen information for the event. So it is a Walking Xmas Carol. It's taking place now through December 23rd. For more information, head to STLshakes.org. Again, for more information, head to STLshakes.org. Well, we're going to have more City Corner right after this. Please stay with us. I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome back to City Corner. We're talking about holiday festivities, what you can do and do safely around the St. Louis area. And we're now going to switch gears and focus to what's going on at the National Museum of Transportation. I'm now joined by Jessica Hood. Jessica is the Community Outreach and Visitor Experience Manager. Jessica, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me today.
Thanks so much for having us on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, so we've been talking, we talked in the first segment about a sort of walking experience in the Central West End. So that's sort of pandemic safe, if you will, being outdoors. And I know that over at the National Museum of Transportation, you've taken a lot of efforts to space things out and still offer opportunities for families to come out and enjoy the holidays. So let's get started. There's a lot. I've got a little cheat sheet of everything that's going on, but maybe we start with what's actually right behind you.
Yes, so right behind me, you'll see the Famous and Bar holiday train display. It's been a fixture here for the past few years, and it's a favorite. There are people that come every year just to see the Famous Bar display. So we have the train display behind us, and then kind of on the outskirts of this, they've built a facade to make it look like the window display, like you would have seen downtown. At the Famous Bar back when it was a part of the window display. So it is pretty neat.
So this is the actual display. Like if we were to go back in time and the Famous Bar downtown, when the window shops, everybody would dress up the windows. This was the train display from back then?
Yes, this is it. So every year they try to make some changes and upgrades to it. This year, for example, I believe they switched out to LED lights, but they try to keep it as historical and accurate as possible, just like you would have seen in the window display. So you'll see Grandma and Grandpa come down and see it and talk about how they saw it in person, and then their grandkids get to see it here. It's just really neat.
That's really great. That's really great. We can see some glimpses of it behind. Is there anything that's really unique about it when you're looking? It's hard to obviously through a Zoom call to get to the details of it, but is there anything that's really special or unique about it?
The longer you look at it, the more detail you will see. There are characters spaced out all over the place. It is it's really fun and exciting to kind of pick out the different characters throughout, but it is really cool.
That's great. So that's one of the things when you walk in, you'll be able to have that sort of experience. And then let's go to, obviously, if people have little kids, I know I was telling you before we started this interview that I used to spend so much time out there with my children when they were younger. And I know the big thing is to ride the train, right? So the miniature train, is that actually open and that's outdoors? Is that available right now?
It is available. It is weather dependent, of course. So far for the holiday season, we have been lucky with the beautiful weather on the weekends. So the plan is always to run it when we can, but precipitation or cold temperatures kind of keep us from that. But so far, so good.
So that's one outdoor component. And then I want to kind of, it's like the grounds are so great there. I'm trying to figure out, do we do this interview talking about how you can maneuver your way around the grounds or focus indoors first? I mean, so we've got the train experience that's open, as you said, weather dependent. You've got the Famous Bar train there. Talk about too, I know something that's really popular is the Creation Station if you've got little ones. Why don't you tell people what that is and how that's going to function maybe differently or not during the holidays?
Yes, so it is different, but it's also a lot of the same from the pandemic. So we cut down the capacity quite a bit, added some extra times to give you more opportunity to participate. Basically just a really big room full of transportation toys and things to do, dress up. So it's geared towards kids 5 and under. And it's about 40 minutes. They can go in and kind of play and hang out, maybe meet some new friends, and then you can go out and enjoy the rest of the museum.
Okay. And we should talk about, this might be a good point to mention in there. I was reading on your site that one of the things that you've done to sort of accommodate families and visitors during the pandemic is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is it reservation based now? Is that how it works?
Yes. So we rolled out reservations for some of our historically busy days. So there are still days where you can just come out and visit. If you spontaneously get the urge, that's totally fine. So you can visit our website and double check just to see what those reservation dates are. Any day that we have kind of the extra holiday festivities, those are reservation dates. Yes.
Got it. So you would go online and you'd book a reservation, and that's basically to help with crowd control and go from there. So we've got, I'm looking here. So Holly Jolly Trolley, that's what we were talking about. That's the outdoor train, right?
We have a train and a trolley.
Oh, and the trolley, tell me. So explain,
yes. So yes, we have the miniature train that runs down along the bottom part of the grounds and then all the way up on the very top of the grounds, we have an operating streetcar. So we have a team of volunteers that restores and maintains this trolley. And then it is available on the weekends to ride, just like you used to. That is included with admission. So any day that we have nice weather, again, it's weather dependent, but
Sure.
any day that we have nice weather, we love it for you to go up and take a ride on the trolley.
Oh, that's great. So that's two options for
Yes.
the actual transportation, which is the trolley and then the
Mhm.
miniature trains. And we should mention, is it where you're sitting that Santa is going to be?
No, so we've, due to the pandemic, we have kind of split everything up and spread it out quite a bit throughout the campus. We technically have 42 acres, so we have a lot of room that we can kind of spread things out for, but Santa is going to be in an old 1952 truck. We have decorated for the holidays. So Santa's in the truck and we have the kids stand out front and they can take their photos with him. It is outdoors, so dress accordingly, but it's a lovely photo op and they get to chat with him a little bit. Sometimes Mrs. Claus comes by.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. I mean, was it hard? I know it's been obviously so stressful, a trying time for everyone. I mean, for everyone. And it's to get people in that comfort zone of coming out to have that experience. A lot of
Sure.
thought has gone into that. I mean, how has that been when you're obviously talking about the visitor experience? What is it that you really just want people to know when they're thinking about what to do over winter break or with their families around the holidays, to know that they're safe there?
Yeah, so like I said, we have 42 acres. About 80% of the museum is outdoors, so lots of room to kind of get outside, socially distance from other groups, and travel the grounds to see the museum. With the amount of people and the reservations that we're requiring, there's not been too big of a crowd at any one point. And we did distance all of our holiday displays and things to do quite a bit. So lots of room, lots of hand sanitizer, lots of extra cleaning, and we did put plexiglass barriers between the train cars. When you ride the miniature train, we've got them at cash registers. We've done, I think, everything that we could have thought to do. I haven't traveled out much to, different places during the pandemic, and I feel completely safe here.
Are you still able, for the trains that are in the yards, the on the grounds, are you able to still walk through them, the ones that were open before? Because that is such a
Yes.
part of like the whole experience when you're at the
Right.
museum, is just to
Right.
be able to go in these old train cars and just feel like you're traveling back in time. Is that still an option?
Yes. I feel like it's one thing to be able to see the outside of it, but to be able to climb through the middle of it is just something extra special. But there are a couple of them that won't allow for the sanitizing process, so those are closed up. But most of the other ones you can still climb through.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And I'm looking down here. You actually have live reindeer visits. Is that right?
We do. So the reindeer make a couple of more stops through the rest of the holiday season.
Just to keep with
Yes.
the transportation theme, right?
Right.
It's like not
Santa
the
uses
train
them as-
transportation at cars, right?
Yeah.
The reindeer transportation. That's great though.
Yes, they are. They're fantastic, and everybody gets a really, really big kick out of coming to see them every year. So yes, there are a few more days that they'll be stopping by for the holidays.
And so are those for the reindeers, are those kind of photo ops where they're just on the grounds and then you can essentially take pictures and stand by? Is that?
Yeah, and the group that brings them out actually brings along quite a few like educational materials, and kind of we'll talk through and answer any questions you might have. You never know which two it's going to be. It could be Vixen and Blitzen. It could be any two, but they really are fantastic.
Are they named after, are they actually named after Santa's
course.
reindeer? That's great. No, they are Santa's reindeer. No, that's great.
They
No, that's
are.
wonderful. And then obviously shopping is, for people to have that opportunity to go, to go shopping, pick up some gifts, your gift shop is open as well.
It is all kinds of transportation related gifts and toys and fun things. We also sell gift memberships, so that's always an option as well. If you know someone in your life that may enjoy the museum for a year, think about that. It's a really great deal membership wise. But yes, the gift shop is open and it's got quite a selection for the holidays.
I always like to remind people to point it out too when we talk about the National Museum of Transportation, that because there's so much focus on the trains, which are just really phenomenal, that there's this collection of trains, but then you have a building on site with cars, with antique cars in them and classic cars. Tell us, is there anything, I mean, it's open, I assume, as well. Is that correct?
Yes. So we have the automobile building, and we actually split up. So typically there are two really large indoor holiday train displays. So normally you would find them down here in the visitor center, but we moved one of them up to that automobile building. So you can stop in there, see the cars, and then you can also see the really, really big, intricate other holiday display that we typically have.
Got it. So there's a lot to choose from. Is there anything that I've kind of covered that we've glossed over? Because there's so many different things you've got going on. Is there anything that we haven't covered?
Let's see. We are doing a raffle to win a Mercedes as well. So that could be an option for holiday presents too, a couple of raffle tickets to win a Mercedes. And you can find more info about that on our website. Yeah, I think we are rocking and rolling for the holidays, and
that's a lot. No, it's a lot. What would you, before we close, for people who haven't been out there, I mean, this is really such a unique little jewel we have in St. Louis, and I shouldn't call it little because it's a lot of property. And I think what's even so great about it is when you're out there, the actual train track that still operates, you might be lucky and hear the train going by. You've been there now, working there for some time, for a little bit. I think you said almost 2 years now. What is it that you love about the National Museum of Transportation that you always try to convey to people when you talk about it?
I love that there's something for everyone. So you can get whole families out here, and the little ones get a kick out of certain things, and mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, everybody has a favorite exhibit. They all have some connection, some story to one of the artifacts. It's just fascinating. And then, talking to the guests that come out, everybody has a wonderful story about some sort of transportation related thing from their past. It's really neat.
Yeah, no, it's a real special place. I don't think too, when you think about how trains actually used to serve as this primary form of transportation in the country, to just see how massive they are. It's really phenomenal when you're out there walking on the ground. So I have one last question to ask. Can you still go in that one train and ring the bell? There's a few trains that you can go in and ring the bell. Can you still do that?
There are some bells. We were closed for about 3 months during the start of the pandemic, and it got really quiet around here. So we really appreciate being able to hear kids ring the bells these days.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, listen, Jessica, thank you so much for your time. Before we go, I'm going to show a quick full screen graphic, and that's information just to reach out to the Museum of Transportation. It's the 2020 holiday season. You can just head to TNMOT.org. Again, TNMOT.org. That's now through January 3rd. So you've got some time to check it out. And Jessica, thank you again for joining me today. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And happy holidays to you.
You
as
too.
well.
You too.
And happy holidays to everyone at home. Thank you for joining me here on City Corner. Have a great holiday season, and keep it right here on STLTV. Experience St. Louis.